The Golden Bead of Umuadim, Part 4. The heavy, iron-bound door of the palace dungeon slammed shut with a dull, final thud, locking Urema away from the warmth of the sun and plunging her into terrifying darkness. She collapsed onto the damp dirt floor, her body shaking with violent, endless sobs as the weight of her impending execution crushed her spirit. Her world had shattered in a single afternoon, and the very village that once sang her praises now demanded her blood. But as she wept in the dark, she was entirely unaware that a single, fragile thread of truth was about to unravel the entire conspiracy. Before we continue this story, comment where you are watching from, like and follow so you catch what happens next. Urema spent 2 agonizing days curled up in the dungeon. She didn't cry because she was afraid of the executioner's noose. She cried because the people she had fed, loved, and protected had instantly turned their backs on her. Outside, her family was drowning in grief. Her father, Dinta, the brave hunter who feared no wild beast, sat outside his compound utterly broken, unable to protect his only child from the law of the land. Her mother, Magbek, refused to eat or speak, staring blankly at her hair tools with tears streaming down her face. But Prince Obinna refused to let the love of his life perish. Late that evening, he quietly slipped past the guards to stand outside her iron cell. Urema lifted her tear-stained face, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you believe I stole it, my prince?" Obinna reached through the bars and tightly gripped her trembling hands. "Never," he answered without a single trace of doubt. "A pure fountain cannot pour out bitter water. I will find the truth." For 3 grueling days, the prince aggressively questioned traders, scoured the market, and searched for clues, but the wicked plot was tight, and time completely ran out. The dreaded morning of the execution arrived, casting a gloomy, oppressive grey light over Umuadim. The massive hanging tree stood ominously in the center of the palace square, its thick ropes swaying in the morning breeze. Thousands of villagers gathered in a suffocating, heavy silence. Nuwayori and Akema stood near the front of the crowd, their stomachs churning with a sickening guilt, yet they kept their mouths firmly shut to save themselves. Urema was dragged out into the light, her hands bound tightly with rough ropes. She was pale and hollow, yet she carried herself with an unshakable, quiet dignity. Mogbek let out a soul-shattering scream at the sight of her daughter, collapsing into the red dirt. Prince Obinna stood beside his father, his face a mask of utter defeat. The executioner stepped forward, tightening the rough rope around Urema's delicate neck. The king slowly rose from his brass throne, lifting his heavy royal staff into the air to give the final signal to end Urema's life. "Stop! Do not spill innocent blood!" A voice cut through the terrifying silence like a crack of lightning. Every single head in the massive square whipped around. Pushing her way through the thick crowd was an elderly, frail widow known as Mama. She was bent with age, leaning heavily on a carved walking stick. Mama was so poor and quiet that people rarely noticed she existed, but today she held the fate of the entire kingdom in her trembling hands, ready to expose the darkness. The moral: no matter how deep you bury a wicked lie in the dark, the universe will always find a way to drag it kicking and screaming into the light of day. The truth is like a heavy log of wood submerged in a river. You can push it down for a while, but it will eventually float back to the surface. The old widow has just interrupted the execution right before the king's staff came down. What exactly did Mama see at the marketplace? And will it be enough to save Urema's life? Drop your comments below. Listen up, family. The final part 5 is coming out tomorrow morning before 9 a.m. If you are asking for parts 1, 2 or 3 to see how this intense village drama unfolded, they have already been uploaded on this page. Do well to visit, watch, and catch up so you are ready for tomorrow morning. We love and appreciate your support. God bless.